I'm Janet Connor, author of a few books that I know you love, starting with Writing Down Your Soul, Soul Vows, The Lotus and the Lily, Find Your Soul's Purpose, two delightful soul writing journals, and of course, the thoroughly, oh, how much fun can you have, coloring book with Christine Pensa, the Soul Discovery Coloring Book. There's a little stack of them over there. And one of the very first things I did when I began to teach was to offer everything I have learned about writing and about being published in the class, which I call Plug In for Writers. The long title is Plug Into the Intersection for Writers. And this course just keeps evolving and evolving and evolving. And of course, it has evolved into a whole new state this year, 2018. And so I'd like to begin talking to you about this very unusual, energetic way to approach becoming a successful published author, beginning with my boyfriend, Thomas Merton. When I first stumbled across several years ago this particular line from one of his poems, I didn't get it. I knew it was exciting, but I still didn't get it. I think poetry must. I think it must stay open all night in beautiful cellars. Well, I want to find my way to those cellars. The cellars are open. The poetry's just waiting. This would make life a lot easier. And that's exactly what we do in Plug In for Writers. We find the door to this cellar where poetry and screenplays and novels and nonfiction books and any other form of expression that belongs to you. And here's how I know it belongs to you. I had a gathering with a medical intuitive several years ago, and we're on the phone. She wasn't even looking at me. And the first thing out of her mouth was, "Wow, you must need a lot of sleep." I'm looking around here by myself. Go, "Oh, yeah. How do you know that?" And she explained that she could see the energy of all of these books, not the ones that are already published, not the ones in that pile, but the ones that want to be born in and through and as me. She could see them in this large cone of this energy field around my head. And she knew that with all of these words talking to me, gathering my attention, coming through my heart and my hands into the world, that I needed a lot of sleep, and I do. I don't know anyone that needs as much sleep as I do. Now, I don't know if this is true of all writers, but my experience has been that those of us traveling deep in the mystic and returning with whatever gifts we have to offer, we do need to rest to gather ourselves and hear all the wonders that happen in the night. Half of the things I know to write happen to me in the middle of the night. This was confirmed just a few months later when I was late turning in Soul Vows. And I apologized to my publisher, but that sixth and seventh chakra, they were still talking to me. They still had a lot to teach me. And instead of being upset with me, the publisher said, "Write the book that wants to be written." Now listen to that. Write the book that wants to be written. Write the book that's in your energy field that wants to be written and can only be written by you. So, how are we going to do this? There are a gazillion writing classes out there. You probably get marketing emails about them. Perhaps like me, you have spent a small fortune going to spend one weekend with somebody that has published a lot of books. I did that because I didn't have any other resources, and I'd rather have that money back right now, but it was all just a part of my learning curve. And I think, I don't want to say wasting, spending all of that money to learn so little and really just to be marketed to, now you need speaking, and now you need this, and now you need this. I think that's what motivated me to create Plugin for Writers, because I want to give you absolutely everything I know about the writing life. And the graduates of Plugin for Writers get published. This most recently, Tara Cosino signed a contract the year she took Plugin for Writers. And The Kindness Cure just came out, and she was on the radio show, and it's published by New Harbinger Press. So how does this come to be? What is unique or different? How do we find our way into those sellers? Well, when Jim Finley was on the show very recently talking about Thomas Merton, he was Thomas Merton's novice, and he wrote this magnificent book, Thomas Merton's Palace to Nowhere. And I asked Jim, okay, it says in all of these books, Thomas Merton wrote 70, that there is no method. And I think we could say the same thing about the writing life. If you look at this professional writer and this novelist and this and this and this, there is no consistency. There is no one method. And Merton, although the guy was famous for writing books about the Christian life, the mystical life, and about prayer, he was adamant that there's no method. So on the radio show, I said, okay, Jim, so Merton says there's no method, but we still come to him and we read his 70 books seeking how can we enter into the mystical life? How can we really learn how to pray? Now listen to what Jim said. He said, it's true that you don't do this. The mystical life, the prayer life is passive. It is done to you, for you, through you. Okay, we all get that. That the mystical life happens to you, for you, with you, in you. But he said, there is a role for you, the active role. And your active role, and this would be true in the spiritual, this would be true in everything. Your active role is not to sit and wait. It is to come up with strategies to actively cooperate. Strategies to actively cooperate. The second he said that, I visualized those books in my energy field, and I knew immediately that I really had to deepen and alter the way I teach Plugin for Writers in order to give you strategies to cooperate with the books in your energy field that want to be born in and through and as you. So this is what makes Plugin for Writers so radically different from all the other courses that are out there. It's divided into two parts. Part one is all of these strategies, all of these active strategies, but they're internal. And I call it the work before the work. This is what makes a writing life. This is what makes you a thrilling writer. This is what gets the publisher's attention. Not all the, and make sure you have social media and the marketing. We're going to do that in part two. It matters. And it matters to do it well. And it matters to do it with love and delight. But the foundation, the door to the cellar where all those books are waiting for you, that's in part one. So here are just a little taste, give you a clue to some of these strategies. And as you're listening, I know you're going to go, I never heard that. I never heard any writing teacher talk about that. Number one is rhythm. Finding the natural rhythm for your writing life. And I will share with you what mine is, but you got to come up with your own strategy. And you've got to be in sync with your rhythm. You can't fight your rhythm. You can't have some other writer tell you when to write and how to write. But I can help you find your natural rhythm. Number two, you got to know how to open the intersection. We live at the intersection of the visible and the invisible. How are you going to get there? That doorway to the cellars that's open all night, it's in the invisible. Well, that's all about the theta brainwave state. That's all about opening the intersection. And this is about my entire life. I have all kinds of strategies. how you can become best friends with the theta brainwave state. And the more time you spend in theta, why, that doorway is so open. The poems and the books, I mean, they come at you in the middle of the night. They come at you first thing in the morning. They come at you in the shower. They come at you in the car, because they are in your energy field, and they are waiting for you to finally offer your consent. Yes, I am a writer. Yes, today I write. Yes, I have all of these strategies to cooperate with you, the books that are waiting for me. We've got to create sacred space. This is the love of my life. I can't wait to teach you how to create sacred space. And this is huge, how to remove the blocks in your field. And Tara's story is the ultimate testimonial to this. She came into Plug-in for Writers 2 years ago with a book half finished. We're already working on the proposal, and it was about mothers and daughters, which is her area of expertise as a therapist. Well, then she came through this hour-long meditation that I downloaded, in which the great writer, not Janet, the great writer removes the blocks in your field. By the time that hour was over, she knew she wasn't here to write a book about mothers and daughters. She was to write a book about kindness. It's removing the rocks in her field that made this possible. And this book is A, phenomenal, and B, an incredible success. This was so exciting for me when I had her on the radio show, that, of course, when I got to read it and I got to write an endorsement for it, the opening sentence, I started to cry, because this is how deeply I care about the people in Plug-in for Writers. Listen to the opening sentence. The Kindness Cure is a peerless book on kindness that exceeds any existing work on the subject. And this is written by a physician who is the head of the Center for Medical Humanities in a medical school. Oh, and this happened because of removing the rocks from her energy field. And of course, you're going to meet your angelic writing guides. Yeah, you don't have to do this on your own by any stretch of the imagination. There are all kinds of divine guides that are ready to help you hear the books that want to be written. And we're going to talk about cross-pollinating. A writer is a creator. An artist is a creator. A musician is a creator. We're all artists. Just artists. I'm a prayer artist. I write prayers. I write books. But music, another form, cross-pollinating, I have really discovered is an incredible strategy to cooperate with the books. And so we're going to really explore cross-pollinating. And our teacher for that is Natalie Goldberg. She's just an expert at cross-pollinating. And we're going to make a big commitment. The commitment, I call it your AIC degree. I'll tell you that story when you're with me. But it comes from, and I want to show you my journal. You see what it says on the front? Play this every day. An artist practices their instrument every single day. My instrument isn't piano, and it isn't guitar, and it isn't voice. It's writing. Deep soul writing, which is the essential core. This is where I get, on any given day, I received everything I'm talking to you about today, this morning in my deep soul writing. This. But you know who's playing it? Right? You think it's you, right? Think about it for a second. Who is actually playing the instrument that is you every single day? And we're going to talk about writing naked, not naked, but the real naked, which is to really open, to write from the heart. The publishing world does not need another book that's just like all the other books that are out there. And this is really important right now. So those old stories of you can write your book this weekend, just forget about them, because that's simply replicating what already exists. There's a self-help book. You're going to write a self-help book just like it. Sell it at the back of the room. No, you're not. The publishing world is not in any way, shape, or form interested in that. It wants something fresh. I'll tell you that right now. The agent and the publisher, fresh. What's new? What's fresh? And if you don't have something fresh and new, well, where's this fresh and new coming from? These books that are in your energy field, they are fresh and they are new, and they know that you're the only person that can write them. And so you're going to come up with a strategy to actively cooperate. And that is going to call for writing from the heart, from the depth. And finally, this is like the most important thing I can teach you, and it is the foundation for all of the marketing that you're going to do. And I call it my beating heart. Because here's the truth of what happens. I'll use Tara's book again as an example. When you read this book, Tara's in the room. When you get teary reading it, when it takes your breath away, when you underline it, when you realize, this is me, this is important, I've got to remember this. That is actually Tara's heart beating in, because she wrote naked, and the book is energetically alive. It moves from the energy field into your heart, out your hands, and onto the bookshelf, and then it attracts the perfect reader. And the perfect reader opens it and has no idea why she says to all her friends, you have got to read this book. I can't count the stories I hear about soul vows and the lotus and the lily and writing down your soul, that people, and when they interview me on the radio, they'll say there's so much love in this book. That's the beating heart. My beating heart is in my books. So as you can tell from my list here, these are not things you hear anybody talk about on any writing courses. Now you might be going, but wait a second, Janet, how do you get an agent? Wait a second, Janet, how do you write a proposal? It's all in part two. It's all in part two. But I don't let you go, well, let's just do part two. Part one is the ground on which you walk. It's those strategies to actively cooperate with the book that has your name on it and only your name on it. If you don't write your book, your poem, your screenplay, it will never, never be written. And the world will be smaller without you. So don't worry, I'll introduce you to my village publishing consultant, the best publicists on the planet, I know them all, and more. But first, sign up for Plug-in for Writers Part 1. You can sign up for Part 1 by itself if you like, or what most people do, what everybody does, is sign up for the whole thing. And of course, there are some pretty significant discounts when you sign up for the whole thing. We open Plug-in for Writers Part 1 on Saturday, May 5th. And those first 6 sessions for those strategies to actively cooperate with the book that is waiting for you are every other Saturday afternoon Eastern. It's a very convenient time for everybody in the world except Australia. There is no one time for the whole globe. But 2 o'clock Eastern in the afternoon seems to really pick up everybody from Hawaii all the way to Central Europe and even the Middle East. So come, if you have any questions, send me an email, and let's start creating strategies to actively cooperate with the book that's right here. It's right here. It's whispering in your ear. And it's going to give a little whoop of joy when you join me in Plug-in for Writers 2018.